Shalom, everyone, and welcome to the Middle East and beyond. I'm Barry Stagner, coming to you from Southern California, and here, as always, from the Galilee in Israel, Amir Sarfati. Amir, shalom.
Shalom, Pastor Barry. Not a dull moment here in Israel and in the Middle East, and we have so much to talk about, even on events of the last 1 hour.
Yeah, a lot going on. It seems like things are heating up again as far as not just newsworthy stories, but things related to Bible prophecy. And, you know, Amir, there is a lot of negative news that comes out of the Middle East, obviously. But there's a positive thing that happens now and again. And something developed in Iraq with a Princeton grad student who is of Israeli-Russian heritage. And maybe you can talk about how this kind of relieves some of the stress that's going on over in Iraq between Israel and really the rest of the world, the Western world, that is, by this release of this woman, held for some 2 years now.
Yeah. So last night, President Trump announced, he was the first to announce, and after he did, the Iraqi prime minister did, and the Israeli prime minister did as well. President Trump basically said the following thing, and I'll read now from his tweet. I'm pleased to report that Elizabeth Surkov, a Princeton student whose sister is an American citizen, was just released by Kataib Hezbollah. It's basically the battalions of Hezbollah, and is now safely in the American embassy in Iraq. And after being tortured for many months, I will always fight for justice. Never give up. Hamas, release the hostages now. And so that was President Trump. Elizabeth Surkov, we prepared, but by the way, that's Benjamin Netanyahu's one. Today, hostage Elizabeth Surkov, an Israeli citizen, was abducted in Iraq in March of 2023, was released. And just so you know, we prepared a small graphic infographic on who Elizabeth Surkov was. So first of all, we're talking about a Russian-Israeli academic from Princeton who was working on her PhD in political science, research that focused on sectarianism, nationalism in the Middle East. She traveled in January of 2023 to Iraq. And a couple months later, she was abducted by Kataib Hezbollah. This is the Iraqi branch of Hezbollah, and this is not part of the Lebanese organization. It was abducted on March 21st. This is another Iranian-backed militia, held for 903 days under harsh conditions, and yesterday she was freed. And when you read carefully between the lines, Pastor Barry, and I read quite a few articles about her. The reason why she was released, the terrorists admit they were afraid that Israel will assassinate them, which basically leads to most of our topics today, because and that tells you how effective these assassinations of terrorists are. They're afraid, and when they're afraid, they make concessions. They do some twists and bends, and as you can see, they decided not to destabilize their region under the pressure of the Iraqi government as well. They moved her to the U.S. Embassy. She already landed in Israel. She's now being examined in a hospital in Tel Aviv and being reunited with her family. But these are good news. And by the way, when you say bad news, the rest of it is bad news. I don't think the rest of it is bad news. When we strike terrorists in Doha or in Yemen or in Lebanon or in Syria, these are good news. There's a big fight between darkness and light, evil and good in the Middle East. And it's always important to be on the right side. And when the enemy is on the run, it's a good thing. So yeah, Elizabeth Surkov has been released. President Trump was the one to share the news. Following him, the Iraqi prime minister, the Israeli prime minister. Look, there has to have been some payment for that. Israel probably will somehow at some point release some people that are important to Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, but we'll do that in due time. If you remember from last week, we still need to settle the score with the Iraqi militias. They killed 2 of our soldiers last year, and we haven't touched them yet, and they know that it will come. I think one of the reasons they released her is because they want to soften the blow that is surely going to come upon them.
Yeah, apparently they've been watching the news, what's been going on around the Middle East arena, so to speak. And Amir, our next story reminded me, I think it was 2015. I was in Jerusalem, and the very first car ramming attack happened, and at a train station where a mother and her 2-year-old were struck by a vehicle, and that introduced another terror tactic into your country, and it continues to this day. And yesterday, Jerusalem saw another tragic event, a terror attack. 6 Israelis were tragically lost their lives. And again, this just seems to continue on and on and on, even though the tactics may change. Some of them don't, but still, again, 6 Israelis had lost their lives in a Palestinian bus assault. Maybe you can bring us up to date on that too.
Yes. Well, it wasn't just a terror attack, it was a massacre. We're talking about 2 Palestinians that snuck into the Jerusalem area through a hole in the fence. They were picked up by a collaborator from among the Arabs of East Jerusalem. He drove them all the way to this junction that was packed with Israeli people, and they boarded a bus and opened fire with a semi-automatic gun and a pistol, and literally they executed 6 people. And I'm talking with someone who is in his 70s, in his 60s, in their 50s, in their 30s. All of them are civilians. All of them were either parents or grandparents, people that did nothing to these Palestinians, and they were massacred. They were executed in cold blood on the spot. Thankfully, a few Israelis that carried guns managed to rush to the scene and confront those terrorists and eventually kill both of them. And it's amazing how international media actually said that Israelis died, Palestinians were killed. I mean, that's how they framed it. Whereas Israelis were killed, and as a result, they were killed as well, the Palestinian perpetrators. So this is the thing. In fact, we do have, I think, a map of or image of the border. I think we may have a map of where the whole West Bank, maybe not, but just so you know, Hamas ordered this. Hamas took responsibility for it, and Hamas praised it. Hamas funded it. These were people that were affiliated with Hamas. Now, it's very interesting, Pastor Barry. I saw yesterday a poll that says that there are more Palestinians in the West Bank, in Judea and Samaria, that are praising October 7th and praising Hamas than there are in Gaza. And the reason is, look what's going on in Gaza. The Gazans can feel the ramification of what they did, and they are no longer thinking that it was a good idea. But the Judea and Samaria Palestinians are still living comfortably in relatively in peace. And I think it's about time for the Israelis to raid those villages, demolish their homes, and I guess treat them as ticking bombs. And that is the whole thing. Now, the Palestinian Authority indirectly condemned the Jerusalem attack, but they didn't say we condemn the Jerusalem attack. They say that we condemn any harm to civilians. That's what they said. But the thing is this, at the same time, the channels that belong to the Palestinian Authority praised this attack. And remember, the Palestinian Authority has this pay-for-slay policy where they actually pay for every Palestinian terrorist that is sitting in Israeli jail. They pay him by how long he stayed, which means by how severe the crime was. The more you kill, the longer you sit, the more money you get from them. So obviously, this is something that is encouraging terrorism rather than condemning them. So this double tongue, saying to the world we condemn, but paying to terrorists when they do that, this is something that they may be able to fool the world, but not us. I think the Palestinian Authority is a terrorist organization that has to be toppled. Israel has to control the entire area of Judea and Samaria and let families run those cities under our control, militarily. But the Palestinian Authority as a body is very corrupt, and in their school books they teach that there is no Israel. They teach the Palestinian children to hate us. So this whole thing has to be gone from the world, and the sooner the better. And I hope that once European countries are going to unilaterally declare or approve a Palestinian state in the UN this month, I hope Israel will be smart enough to impose a sovereignty over most of Judea and Samaria for the first time and forever, I hope. So only the pockets of the main Palestinian cities will be left in their hands to be governed by them, and that's it. Their dream of Palestinian state may be approved and praised in the UN, which is the United Nothing. But on the ground, it is nothing but a dream but not a reality. It's two different things. I mean, everybody's praising them and everybody wants to support them. Everybody wants them to be a state on the paper, but in reality, it's exactly the opposite. The more we move forward, the further that dream is from them. And I really hope that by the end of this year, Israel will not only finish with Gaza, but will also impose sovereignty in the Judea and Samaria, and will maybe then be able to finally get some peace in this area.
Yeah, Amir, I think we're all waiting for the International Criminal Court to condemn this as a war crime. And I think we got a long wait for that. Again, liberal media, all the woke media, the progressive media, silent on these issues. And, in their minds, it's justifiable rage on the part of the Palestinians. So, again, what a delusional age we live in. And these annexation threats and these Palestinian statehood pushes that we're seeing from many in the international community are kind of a push and a pull, if you will. What's going on, as you just mentioned, Israel declaring sovereignty over these areas. This is biblical Israel. And, this whole West Bank thing and all that's a bit of a misnomer. But, again, this is land that God gave to the Jewish people, eternally, unconditionally covenanted to the descendants of Isaac through Jacob. And it's unbelievable, the silence out there on the heels of what just happened in Jerusalem. And yet, if the roles were reversed, if civilians were killed because Israel took out some type of terror cell that was meeting in a school or a hospital in Gaza, the outcry would be huge.
Yeah, I think that also we have to remember there is a plan already of Finance Minister Smotrich. He already drew a map with a proposal to extend Israeli sovereignty over 82% of Judea and Samaria. the U.S. State Department also imposed sanctions on the Palestinians' non-governmental organizations that assisted the ICC against Israel foreign minister against Israel. Let's look at the map of the sovereignty that Smotrich proposed. As you can see, the only thing left in yellow is the pockets of Hebron, Jericho, Ramallah, Nablus, and all of that. But that's it. The rest will be under Israeli control. By the way, including the city of Bethlehem. We want the city of Bethlehem to be back a Christian hub and not what it is right now. Also, the International Criminal Court has relied on Palestinian non-governmental organizations Al-Haq, Al-Mazen, Center for Human Rights, and the Palestinian Center for Human Rights in its political crusade against Israel. These are all Palestinian organizations that are out there just to call for the destruction of Israel. So everybody's relying on them to make their decisions about us. And so U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made a very, very important moral decision in standing with Israel when he actually condemned those organizations and basically revoked the visas of the Palestinian Authority and delegates that wants to come for the UN General Assembly meeting later this month, because if the Palestinian Authority is paying for terrorists, the Palestinian Authority is a terrorist organization. So this is it. And I think Governor Huckabee, who is now the ambassador of America to Israel, Huckabee posted also his support. Okay, so he posted his support also, and you can find all of these things on my Telegram channel. So, you know, these are important things that we see coming from America. Huckabee and Rubio, the White House is fully on our side. But unfortunately, you know, other countries like Spain and France and the UK and others, they're on the other side. And there is chaos in those countries. And the chaos is from that unholy triangle of the Islamists and the far left and the Nazis, basically. So look what's going on in France today. France is burning. Look what's going on in Belgium. They need the military to walk in the streets of Belgium right now. I mean, you can clearly see that all those countries that are coming against Israel, they really don't do that because they really think we're on the wrong side. They try to appease their own people, but it doesn't help them because they already allow the monster into their country.
Yeah, it's interesting, Amir, because we're starting to see some pushback from the general populace in some of these countries. And, you know, the German police have taken a pretty strong stance, and some of the individuals they've encountered. There's been interesting video footage coming out of Ireland, where there are groups who are chanting some rather curious things about, you know, the Islamic stronghold and movement that's going on there. There's even been some pro-Israeli marches in London. And, you know,
London and also in Australia, I think, in Bondi.
Yeah. Yeah, and New Zealand, too. They're doing the haka and the dance and chanting, you know, we're done with you, send them home. But, you know, the prophetic implications of this, Amir, I think are pretty significant. Because if we consider the fact that this is, you know, moving from military engagement to individuals who are now standing up for their countries because the government hasn't, you know, there's coming a time early in the tribulation period where people are going to turn on one another, and under the right or the red horse, they're going to kill one another. We've got this massive global tension that I think is unprecedented happening right now. And could that feed into what the rider on the red horse is going to do? Well, very possible. But we're seeing the necessary mentality already present in the world today. So wild and interesting time to be alive, to be sure. And Amir, you know, looking at what's going on in your neighborhood, so to speak, there was a strike that shook up Hamas and potentially eliminated some of the higher echelon of command there in Qatar. So maybe you can talk about that story as well and the potential implications of that.
Yeah. So we don't really know the outcome of this strike. Yesterday, Israel sent 10 fighter jets all the way from our territory across Iraq. And we reached a position where we launched precision-guided missiles that hit the headquarters of Hamas in Doha, Qatar. Take a look at this one. This is the CCTV footage that shows you the precision-guided missiles that hit. We're talking about massive explosions that should have killed anyone who was, if he was there in this particular room in that particular house. It should be noted that this is the only target that we attacked in Doha, Qatar. We did not attack government targets, military targets. We attacked a villa that is housing the top Hamas terrorists that are sitting in Doha comfortably. And the funny thing is that that's what the villa looked like after that, by the way. As you can see, the villas behind were not damaged. Anything around was not damaged. It was a very sophisticated new type of missiles that I cannot share. I cannot share what it exactly was. But look at this map and see that the aircrafts left Israel around 2 p.m. Crossed the area, made it all the way to the Qatari airspace, launched the rockets away from the UAE and Saudi Arabia and hit the Wadi Radwan Street in Doha, Qatar, where the terrorists were meeting. The initial reports yesterday were that good indications that everybody were there. Towards the night and early morning today, we were not sure if everybody were there. We're still waiting. It takes always at least 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours to know. One thing for sure, anyone who was in that room is gone. The question is, who was there?
Who was there?
Let me remind you, these are the people that celebrated on October 7th, and that's the house that we attacked. Take a look. They were sitting in that big house looking at the atrocities as Hamas are performing live on Al Jazeera, as you can clearly see, and they were praising, and then they took off their shoes and started praying, to give thanks to Allah. All those people that you see right now should be dead. First of all, Ismail Haniyeh, who led that prayer, is gone. We killed him in Tehran. We killed Salah El-Aruri to his left in Beirut. But the other three to the right should have been in that meeting yesterday, and thus they should be dead by now. So basically, Israel is determined to get to all of them. Now, it's a great embarrassment to the Qataris, who always seem to be untouchable. They have billions, trillions of dollars. They are buying their way everywhere. They buy influence in the U.S. government, in the European countries, in the UK. I don't know if you know that, but Qatar owns more assets in London than their royal family. Qatar owns Harrods, department store. I mean, these are British symbols. Qatar owns five-star hotel, owns universities, but Qatar owns almost 40% of Heathrow Airport in London. I mean, we're talking about a country that no wonder why everybody's now condemning Israel for attacking there. But remember one thing. 3 months ago, Iran attacked in Qatar. Iran attacked the Al Udeid base in Qatar, and no one condemned Iran for that. Qatar did not condemn Iran for that. The Europeans did not condemn Iran for that. No one said a word. Okay? And the funny thing is, the Iranians tweeted today that they are shocked that Israel attacked and violated the sovereignty of Qatar, when it's the same Iranians that did that 3 months ago also. And so there's a lot of questions going on right now. First of all, did we hit them? Second, will Qatar continue to mediate in the future? But Qatar is full-blown Hamas. They are Muslim Brotherhood. The only reason why Qatar is so influential is Al Jazeera, which broadcasts to 1 billion people and brainwash them. So they're very powerful media. And they have money where they buy sport events, they buy cultural events, they buy government, they have influencers. Qatar bought basically Tucker Carlson. He's right now looking at Qatar as an ally and Israel as an enemy, where we know exactly who is what when it comes to America. Qatar is buying influencers in America from both sides, the left and the right. Qatar bought all the senates in all the universities. Qatar is funding the anti-Israel and anti-America rhetorics in the universities. Qatar is a poison. It's a 300,000 people country in the size of a big city that has 2 million non-Qatari slaves that are working for them there. And Qatar has no right to say anything about human rights because it treats its own slaves there horribly. Qatar is by far the most diabolic country in our region besides Iran, and that's why Qatar and Iran are two, are birds of the same feather. I mean, it's amazing to see that, and that's it. I mean, we can clearly see that their dignity and honor was basically damaged yesterday, and they're very, very, very angry. Very angry. By the way, I think that Qatar did receive, a warning before that happened. Yeah, and if we did not hit those Hamas leaders, it's because Qatar warned them to leave. So I'm just saying, just remember, Qatar and Turkey are the same thing. They help one another. One has the political power and the other one has the money. And it's the same thing. So, Pastor Barry, I'm glad we did it. Even if we didn't kill the heads of Hamas, the actual strike sent a message to the Qataris and to the whole world. There's not a single country, even if it can be a very, 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 very wealthy country. No one is immune when it comes to housing and harboring Hamas terrorists. We will get them everywhere, one by one, until everyone that is responsible for October 7th is few feet under the ground.
Yeah, Mayor, you mentioned that they were living comfortably in Doha, and I think we could add cowardly to that as well.
Yes,
not being even with the people that they say they are leading. And it also reminds us, Amir, that the international community has funded this villa, and a lot of the monies that spent on terror tunnels and the other things that we know they have used billions of donated dollars to do. They also finance this lifestyle for these leaders of Hamas to stay outside of their own country and live in the lap of luxury, so to speak. So
yeah, and one of the reasons we did that, Pastor Barry, is because when you live in comfortable life in villas and 5-star hotels, you don't suffer. And when you don't suffer, you are not rushing to find a solution to the problem. The problem that Hamas was refusing to release the hostages and sign a new deal is not because of Hamas in Gaza. It's because of Hamas in Doha. The people in Gaza already can't wait for a deal. They can't wait for a ceasefire. But Hamas in Doha, they don't care. They don't suffer. They don't feel anything. They eat,
living like kings.
They drink. Exactly. So they were the problem. If somebody says to me, Amir, what you did yesterday harmed the negotiation, I say, you don't know what you're talking about. They were the problem. if anything now, if they're all gone, I think it'll be easier to talk to the people in Gaza because they are desperate for a ceasefire.
Yeah, and the news continues to come out of Gaza City. Again, tragically, the loss of IDF soldiers killed by Hamas, but there's still continued efforts to notify people and kind of finish the task, so to speak. So what's going on in Gaza City?
Yeah, well, first of all, for the first time since the beginning of the war, Israel issued an official evacuation order to all the people of Gaza City for the first time. And we not only told them that they should be evacuated, we told them where to evacuate. We told them exactly what road to take. We told them even today what were the areas where they can actually pitch their tent there and be fed by the distribution center, have water there, electricity, and even available hospitals there if they need. So Israel has prepared a humanitarian area north of the city of Khan Yunis. And one of the other things that we started doing is basically toppling all the towers that Hamas was using. Tower is anything above 8 stories. Hamas was using those buildings for cameras to look at IDF troops, and also some of the apartments to house terrorists. And some of them were actually covering shafts and tunnels where they were meeting. So take a look at this is from today. A tower that was standing there received evacuation notification, and a few minutes later, it was gone. We destroyed over 80 towers in the last 3 days, and apart from that, more than that when it comes to buildings and houses that were used by Hamas. So I said that last week. The skyline of Gaza is changing completely, and you won't see anything standing too tall anymore. The idea of the Israelis is to completely destroy any terror infrastructure and not to allow them to recover. And for the Gazans, by the way, I say you will have nowhere to come back to. And by the way, the IDF spokesperson released an interesting infographic about what's happening in Gaza City for dummies. Because a lot of people don't understand what's going on. The IDF needs to fight a jihadi terrorist group that is holding 48 Israeli hostages for over 700 days and is refusing a deal to release them. The same jihadi group threatens to carry out another million October 7th when given the opportunity. Gaza City is their main stronghold, with areas we have not been in since October 7th. Israel established a humanitarian zone ready to receive civilians from Gaza City with additional food, water, tents, and improved medical response. The IDF has given up the element of surprise in order to let civilians get out of harm's way. The IDF has designated a route to move to the humanitarian zone and communicated it publicly, leaflets, SMS, phone calls, and on social media. Hamas is preventing civilians from moving out of the war zone and asking them to stay as human shields. The IDF will operate while taking many steps to prevent harm. Basically, what we're saying is this: we are the most stupid country in the world. We are being accused for a genocide, and we are even not using the element of surprise. I mean, think about it. If they accuse you, at least surprise them and kill as many as you can, terrorists, not civilians. But if they accuse you for genocide and you give up on the element of surprise just so you can be good and look, and nobody cares how you look. Nobody cares about what you do because you've already been framed as a country that performed genocide in a country that is performing man-made famine. All this crap, excuse me for my French, is already there. We've been framed. So at least, I would say, do something. This is the map of Gaza that we prepared even last week, just to show people what we have there. So this is the area where the IDF is currently control, as you can clearly see. The latest advances that you're about to see are in the green, and we have aid distribution centers, humanitarian aid crossings, and planned aid distribution sites that we are opening, new ones, to accommodate all the new ones coming. And that's Gaza City. We're attacking it, and we are encouraging them to move down south to the humanitarian area. As you can clearly see, we're advancing a little bit in the ground, but most of the operation right now is from the air because we are asking them to leave. And this is the humanitarian response in the southern Gaza Strip. Again, we have deployed power lines, water, food distribution centers, everything. Look, we're so stupid. I'm sorry to say that. We're so stupid because we do everything by the book, and we're being accused for not doing everything by the book. I mean, if you're being accused for not doing it, just don't do it and get the maximum result. But at least if you do it, make sure everybody acknowledges that you do it. And but that's it. That's what we have. Remember, Israel has the judicial arm that is so strong. And not only that they control the government, but they also control the military. And they dictate to the military what to do and how to do. And they always tell you have to do things by the international law, or else it will be hard for the world not to say that you committed genocide. But the world is already telling you that we are committing a genocide anyway. But it is what it is. We're doing what we're doing. Almost 200,000 Gazans have left. But we still have about 400,000 or anything from 400,000 to 500,000 that are still there. Our job is to get them out. And if they don't leave, they're no longer innocent, uninvolved. They are taking part in this battle because we facilitated everything for you not to get in ways of harm. But it's your choice.
I think that's the perfect segue to why we encourage you every week to subscribe, comment, like, and share, because so much of the battle that we're facing today, especially in relation to the nation of Israel, is fought in the court of public opinion, which is spread and expressed through social media platforms and places like YouTube. And, there's a saying, Amir, as you were talking, that I was thinking about, that, a lie is halfway around the world when the truth is still putting on its shoes. There are so many people out there who are promoting things that are false, giving out false information and just flat out lies, not just misrepresentations, but intentional lies meant to harm the Israeli cause. And so we need your help every week to make sure you're subscribed to both of our channels. Like, comment, share, all these things drive the numbers up on platforms like YouTube, which increases its visibility on people who are not subscribed. When they open there, I'm sure all of you know, when you open YouTube, there's a series of clips there and the link to watch them. And the ones that are driving a presence on YouTube are the ones that are going to make it into those preview sections. So please make sure you're subscribed, make sure you comment, make sure you like, and make sure you share these things, especially in light of the misrepresentation of truth today. And Hezbollah continues to make the news, Amir, and the government plans on dismantling, without any kind of specific timeline, and a series of strikes in Lebanon, and high-ranking operatives has occurred. And maybe you can bring us up to speed on what's happening up north from your
the Lebanese government already took the decision to disarm Hezbollah, but now they needed to sit and approve the military's plan how to do it. And they sat, I think, over the weekend, and the military presented the following plan, as you can clearly see on the screen. They divided all of Hezbollah's influence area to 5 zones. Southern Lebanon, anything beyond the Litani River, between the Litani and the Awali River, is number 2. Number 3 is the Dahya, is the stronghold south of Beirut. Number 4 is Beirut itself. Number 5 is the Baqa of Lebanon, the Valley of Lebanon. Now, where they store their heavy munitions, heavy rockets, and drones is number 5. Where they used to be is number 1. Israel already took care of number 1. Israel already cleared most of that area, and we are inside that area in 5 to 6 different positions there. What Israel is attacking in the last few months is any attempt to restore everything in number 1, but also still we're attacking depots and ammunition caches and all that in that number 5 over there. The problem with the Lebanese government decision from a few days ago is that they did not give Hezbollah a timetable, and they want to start with the obvious number 1, which is it's already clean, and they want to leave the heavy part last, which is we will never agree to that, because go and take care of business where you need to take care of business first, and then we'll consider to pull out of where we are right now. So everything is upside down there, everything is twisted there, and it means that Israel will have to stay inside and will have to continue an attack almost every day. We attack almost every day because what we think is going on, and American intelligence also confirmed that Hezbollah is actually restoring itself. 20% of Hezbollah's strength has been restored already. So what we do is just mowing the lawn, but the Lebanese people and their military and their government must uproot it, because mowing the lawn means Israel has to operate almost every day. If you want us to stop, then uproot this thing once and for all. And that takes a lot of courage, and Hezbollah is not going to do it voluntarily. You need to understand that Hezbollah represents the Shiites community. They're the protectors of the Shiites. The Shiite community in Lebanon used to be the weakest until the 1980s. They were the weakest. The Christians were the strongest. Then came the Druze and the Sunnis, and now, after Iran invested so much and the Shiites became so big and so strong with their own army, which is the Hezbollah, the last thing they want is to give up on it. It's their pride, it's their strength. And they're also afraid that al-Jolani from Syria will see them weak and then maybe invade and finish the job and kill all the Shiites there. So they don't want to give up on their weapons. Lebanon may even have to go into a civil war in order to get that done. And until that happens, Israel cannot and will not let its own troops out because we cannot afford that. And that's important. It's important that people understand that. We're there to stay until Lebanon takes business into its own hands and uproot this thing. Israel is strong enough right now to call the shots and not to allow that, the recovery of Hezbollah to take place.
It's not just the northeastern border that there are things happening in Amir, but also on the northwestern border. There's all continuing issues going on. I think it's interesting that Turkey is not being allowed to gain a foothold there. One of the named countries in the Ezekiel invasion, and yet Syria again continues to crumble as Israel strikes Palmyra, Latakia, and Homs. And so what's happening there on that side of the north of your country?
Yeah. Well, Israel, as you remember, right when the Assad regime fell, Israel went to a military operation that basically destroyed the Syrian army, weapons and strongholds and everything. But what we see in recent weeks is that Turkey is now trying to establish its own foothold in its own presence in Syria. What Iran did before, Turkey is doing now. And Turkey is installing radar systems, communication systems, espionage systems. So Israel is determined not to allow that to happen. We are drawing the lines there. Turkey, you take care of Turkey. Stay there where you are. Don't invade into our neighbor and threaten us from there. So Israel, a few days ago, went on a massive night raid. You can see that video where we bombed huge storehouses of missiles. These are air defense systems of Russian Pantsir missiles that we took out. But we also carried out strikes in locations in Palmyra, where we destroyed Turkish infrastructures, as well as Latakia and Homs. So, in fact, I think we have a map that can show you where we attacked in Syria, the different places that we attacked. All right, so I guess we don't have the map. But I'll post that map on Telegram later on, and people will be able to see it, okay? We definitely, we strike in Latakia, which is on the coast, Homs, which is further inland, and Palmyra, which is even east of Homs. So I'll put it on Telegram, and you can see that one.
And Amir, there's activity that continues with the Houthis, and they're not just targeting, Tel Aviv and the Ben Gurion airport, but now there's been a strike down by Eilat at the Ramon airport, and Israel, as the headline here reads, is prepping to respond. So, what's happening there?
Well, well, the headlines should be changed, but we created this headline 50 minutes before Israel launched another strike, which is a couple hours ago. And in fact, we do have footage of the strikes in Yemen from 2 hours ago. Israel launched a massive operation. We sent about 10 fighter jets that dropped over 100 munitions in quite different locations. We attacked military camps. We attacked oil depots, oil reservoirs, fuel reservoirs. We attacked the propaganda center of the Houthis. Take a look at this video from, like as I said, 2 hours ago. This is 2 hours ago. Look at this oil depot in the heart of Sana'a that is going up in flames. Also, another one is, this is it. Look at this military camp. Look what it looks like. And that's, again, 2 hours ago. Israel did that. Everything is on my Telegram channel. It's, with the Houthis, they don't really learn. So we have to remind them. And so every couple weeks, we have to pay a visit and destroy more and more of those things. We do have more footage that you can see again. All of this is from the last couple hours. And, when look at what they did to us. So you understand why we had to retaliate. We should have a map of what they did to us just a few days ago. From Yemen, as you can clearly see, they take a look at this map. So here is Yemen, and they sent drones. These are drones that can fly long distances, explosive drones, and they made it all the way to southern Israel. First, they made it to the Ramon airport near Eilat and to the Dimona area, where, according to foreign press, Israel has its nuclear reactor there. At the Ramon airport, they actually hit the terminal. Believe it or not, look, they hit the terminal of our southernmost airport. Look at all these shattered glasses. Thankfully, just few people were lightly wounded. Most of them are not even physically wounded. And when it comes to Dimona area, we intercepted them. But we paid a visit a couple hours ago, retaliated, and this time it was the longest distance Israel ever had to fly, with over 2,200 kilometers, flying all the way to the Houthi area of Yemen and carrying enough munitions. So take a look at that. I mean, this time, after what they did to us, we launched our own operation in Sana'a, in Amram, and as you can clearly see, we launched our fighter jets and we responded decisively. All the footage, all the videos, and all the information on my Telegram channel. And by the way, sometimes I even hint before the attack, such as, and you can see on Telegram, I put all eyes on Yemen or all eyes on, somewhere else, because it's obvious that something is coming.
Yeah, Amir, it's curious that Russia remains in the news and kind of a bit disturbing, and I think it falls under the Wars and Rumors of Wars headline. But now Poland has been invaded by Russian drones, and Belarus continues to be supportive amid Putin's tests, and we're just hearing, rumors of war spreading out beyond the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, and seems as though a warning shot was fired at Poland. So what's been going on there?
Well, I mean, last night we were the closest we've ever been to World War III. And in fact, the Polish Prime Minister said we are in the closest situation to an armed confrontation since World War II. That's how we described it. We're talking about over 100 drones that flew from Belarus. Now you're saying, wait a minute, I thought it's Russian. Yeah, there was Russian presence in Belarus. They're preparing for Zapad 2025. It's a joint military exercise. So as they build up their military force, they use it as it's much closer. And they flew via Ukraine all the way to eastern Poland. And as I said, 100 drones and a few missiles. And it is an attack on a NATO member. Poland is a NATO member. And during the night, I was up most of the night because of that, because you never know. I was amazed that the Russian Ministry of Defense clearly stated that anyone that stands with Zelensky will also pay the price. In other words, not only that they said it's a mistake, they did not say it's a mistake, they actually said, we did it on purpose to send a warning to you. It's no longer that Russia is fighting Ukraine. Russia, as of last night, expanded its fight against anyone that assists Ukraine, and Poland has officially become a front line. And so I think Putin is testing NATO. He will tell you that NATO was testing him, and that's why he started the war with Ukraine. And again, Poland announced that it found debris of 7 suicide drones. I have the footage on my Telegram of the drones that they found. And I can also tell you that Article 4 on the Charter of NATO has been invoked, which is emergency consultation when one of the members feels that it's being threatened. And that is Article 4. Article 5 is when one of them has been attacked and the rest are coming to help. By the way, this house that you're about to see now has been damaged by one of the Russian drones. Allow me to show you the map of how it all happened. As you can clearly see, there's the map of massive Russia and of Belarus next to it, and of Ukraine and of Poland. And then, of course, that's the area where there's debris of Russian suicide drones and missiles that they found, all that area. And some of it was even as far as the northwestern part. So quite a long distance. During the night, NATO fighter jets were flying low, trying to hunt those drones. So unprecedented collaboration of NATO members sending F-16s, F-35s from Holland, from Poland, and also some other reconnaissance planes. The U.S. congressman from Joe Wilson basically said the following thing. He said, Russia is attacking a NATO ally, Poland, with Iranian Shahed drones less than a week after President Trump hosted President Narowski at the White House. This is an act of war, and we are grateful to NATO allies for their swift response to war criminal Putin's continued unprovoked aggression against free and productive nations. So as far as a U.S. congressman, it's actually an act of war. Again, last night we were that close to a beginning of World War III. And if Putin is going to continue and expand the attacks on more of NATO members, such as others that are providing help, then it's going to become a war. And as I said, I think Putin is definitely testing NATO right now. And I'm not sure he's very intimidated by what he saw yesterday.
No, Amir, it's interesting as you're talking. I was thinking about the fact that here you've got these power-hungry men who are influencing the events of the world. You've got Putin, who wants to see the restoration of the glory days of Mother Russia. You've got Erdogan, who wants to become the Sultan over the reestablished Ottoman Empire. You've got the Shia Iranians, at least the leadership, that wants to see that global caliphate established. And we are headed toward a time where there is going to be one guy who's running the show of the whole planet. And thankfully, we won't be here when that happens. But our next story, Amir, I think is interesting because it is a major contributing factor to the mentality that's necessary for the events of the tribulation to take place as far as individual response to the Antichrist. And, we've had some of the debates, Dinesh D'Souza and others. I've seen people make comments that in some of their, open meetings that they've had on college campuses and elsewhere, where words are equated to acts of violence. And here in the UK, it seems like the sun has set on the British Empire, at least mentally and emotionally, where the UK justice system is now arresting people for negative comments about transgender people and their ideology and their, if you read a Bible on a street corner, you can be arrested for that. It's considered an act of violence, where the Brits allow child rapists out of prison. They allow the migrant crime to continue. And Amir, this is, I think, just part and parcel of what is required for the whole world to go after someone who is empowered by Satan. Revelation 13 makes it quite clear that the Antichrist receives his power and authority, as does the false prophet, from Satan himself. And you can't get much more satanic than to say someone who is, disagreeing with a particular group's ideology needs to be arrested because they're committing acts of violence because of things they post on social media platforms. The world seems to be losing its mind more and more quickly every passing day.
Yeah, I agree with you. And unfortunately, most of this nonsense is coming as a pushback from leftists, from communists, jihadists, and Nazis altogether, and they're of great influence in the younger generation, the Generation Z. And
Right.
by the way, that's why we really feel that we need to do something about that. And I don't know if I have this for us to show you, but Behold Israel is when you want to donate to Behold Israel, one of the sections you can actually donate to is actually to young adults tour. Exactly, young adults tour. So and the thing is, we bring them as scholarship based, basically. So your donation is paying for young adults from all over the world to come. And what happened is, we not only that we pay their way, but for almost 10 days, we just show them the truth. There's something that the social media will never do. We bring them physically to the land. We show them the land. We show them the Bible. We connect reality with scriptures to them, and then we send them back home as great ambassadors. And that's something that has been on my heart from day one when we established Behold Israel. And so again, it's important that we know. And also, Pastor Barry, it's important that people understand that neither you or me, we are not surprised by what we see. I mean, everything we see, we know we live in the days of Ezekiel. We know we live in the days of great fulfillment of prophecy. And my upcoming book, which will come out on October 7th, Exploring Ezekiel, is basically all about that. Maybe we can show a tiny little clip on that so people will understand what this book is all about. You can see we ask you to pre-order it. We want this to make it to all the bookstores. Get more than one copy. Give it to your children, give it to your grandchildren, but also get the study guide so you can sit and study that in depth. It's super, super important. Pastor Barry, the battle is brewing and there is mass surveillance against people. What is that all about?
Yeah, there's a company named Flock Safety that has basically instituted license plate readers, automated license plate readers. And, there's a lot of upheaval going on now, Amir, because this has been incorporated by ICE in tracking people. And, it's curious, again, that there's something that helps control fentanyl distribution, human trafficking, and combating against those things. And it's viewed negatively, and many people are up in arms because it's been employed by immigration control. And, looking and tracking people who've illegally entered the country has now become a great negative. And yet here you've got this company that hasn't really contracted with anybody via Homeland Security or anyone else who's under fire because they invented the technology, or at least, made it available to other groups. And again, it's just this kind of paired with that last story that came out of Britain. It's amazing to see this movement of mind control that is happening in our world. The fact that you no longer have a right to an opinion. You have to go with the flow. You have to think like those in the places of power think. And again, this is going to ultimately be fulfilled during the tribulation, where the control is going to come down to allowing you to either buy or sell and take care of your daily needs because you either agree with or don't agree with the guy that's in power. And the stage is being set, Amir. We are so late in the game, and this company, has come under scrutiny by many in the public arena because of the fact that they're using this technology. ICE is using this technology, and this issue has divided our country just unbelievably. I don't understand, Amir, why people don't get illegal as part of the immigration problem that's going on. You don't have a right to sneak into any country, let alone our country, and yet people treat it like, well, you're a hate monger, you're a bigot, you're a racist, and all these other things, when all people are trying to do is just regulate the flow of people into their country. And using this technology, now here you've got those who are up in arms because technology is being used to assist the immigration authorities in our country. And flock safety is now under fire in the court of public opinion, again, like other countries. And it's bizarre to watch, our country, and any country for that matter, fall into such foolishness. And yet, here we are.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And what about a lecture in a club in San Francisco about the Antichrist? Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, this is interesting. Peter Thiel, who is the founder of PayPal, and he's also a founding member of Palantir, which is a data mining company, is concerned about the usage of these types of technologies as a part of the Antichrist agenda during the tribulation period. And, I couldn't help but think in reading this article of what Elon Musk said. The biggest threat to humanity is artificial intelligence. And this guy is actually doing, who's definitely part of the technology world. He is doing a series of private lectures that are going to be held in a place called the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco on the Antichrist and how the Antichrist will most likely use artificial intelligence and technology to basically force his agenda on others. And it's actually sponsored by a group called Acts 17 Collective. And the lectures are going to be based on the theological and technological dimensions of the Antichrist. And I was kind of saddened to read the fact that none of these are going to be recorded or made public. But it's interesting that this guy who's in the technology field has married now these two things together that the Bible clearly states are going to be part of the Antichrist agenda and package, because we do know that there's going to be a man-made image that has life, apparently life breathed into it, that causes the whole world to go after the beast and worship not only the beast, but also the dragon. So, he's talking about some of the tactics that will be employed by this guy, using fear to impose global control. He shared that, the way the Antichrist is going to take over the world is he's going to talk about Armageddon nonstop. He's going to talk about, existential risk nonstop. Oh, the climate is going to consume us all. And, and here we have all of these tools, so to speak, already in play, and they'll be readily available for the Antichrist when he takes the helm of the whole world. Pretty stunning stuff, I think.
Very impressive and stunning. And it's not like we're not used to it. I mean, ever since COVID, we can see, and even before that with climate change, I mean, they always move the goalpost with climate change to when the end of the world is. And it used to be, global warming. Now they don't call it anymore because things are changing. But it seems like AI. Cooling, exactly. That they had to change the name to climate change in general. It seems like AI is becoming a factor also that unfortunately packs psychiatric wards in hospitals as of late, where the suicide and some psychosis cases caused by AI. Can you talk more about that?
Well, we've talked about the fact that 75% of Gen Zers have stated that they would be open to a relationship with some form of artificial intelligence romantically. But Amir, you just cannot replace the love that God has opened the door for us to experience in a human-to-human relationship, specifically in the marital relationship between a husband and a wife. And what this AI, love relationship is establishing is actually emotionally debilitating. And to have this relationship where there's never any debate, your AI romantic interest is always going to agree with you. There's never going to be any disagreements. They're going to tell you positive things all the time. Well, that's not life, and that's not reality, and that's basically very unsatisfying.
It's what heaven is. It's what heaven is for some men, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. A woman who's silent, or a mate who is silent,
exactly,
and just agrees with everything you do. And interesting that this is now pushing people into emotional and mental breakdowns. And ChatGPT, has actually told an individual who had a history of mental health, that he needs to get away from, the family members and to listen to this ChatGPT because it had claimed to be sentient. In other words, it has understanding and could support him. And, the family's been trying to, pull this guy out of this. It's almost like somebody gets involved in a cult and you send people in to sneak in and break them out and free them from these cultic teachings and mentalities.
Amazing.
And yet here we've got this happening now from a relationship with artificial intelligence. And, again, Amir, all this is pointing to what's going to happen during the tribulation. And I don't think we can make the point enough in recognizing how late we are in church history. And I believe there's a transition that actually lasts only for a moment and a twinkling of an eye, where everything is going to change. And, we've seen multiple examples of that in the past quarter century, from September 11th, 2001 to the pandemic of 2000. The whole world can change in just a moment. And I believe it's about to, when the Lord comes to raise up the dead in Christ, and we who are alive and remain will meet him in the air and forever be with him. So,
Amen.
Pretty amazing times.
Pretty amazing indeed. Well, our time is up, Pastor Barry. We've covered a lot. And again, I want to look, I need to tell people that we're not into sensationalism. We're not going to sell you stuff just to cause you to watch a video. This is where you're going to get things as they are. And it's important, I think, to share it with as many as you can, because sensationalism will always use clickbaits and yet bring you down, not up, because it's not based on solid truth. It's based on trends. Please sign up, follow, share, like, and comment. It's important to push the truth and not sensationalism as is. We also want to remind you, Pastor Barry and myself, we wrote a devotional, 365 days devotions on Israel and Bible prophecy. It's called Until He Comes. And it is already up there for pre-sale on Amazon. And this is the QR code you can already scan and pre-order it. But again, the book that is coming on October 7th, which I need your help to get to that number where it will get to the big major department stores so non-believers can get, is also Exploring Ezekiel. And so I've got the only copy that is there in my office right now. It's not out yet. I got one copy. You can get it. I'm only 2/3 in my goal to get until October 7th. Help me to get to the number. So it will go to Target and Walmart, Hobby Lobby, and the big stores. We want non-believers also to grab it, read it, and hopefully get saved. So, Pastor Barry, this is the time when we bless the people and then we say goodbye. I will bless the Aharonic blessing in Hebrew, Pastor Barry in English, and then we'll farewell say goodbye. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך, וישם לך שלום.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance toward you and give you his peace. In Yeshua's name, we offer this blessing. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please, please, please share it with as many as you can. And until next week, follow me on Telegram, 24/7 news. A lot of stuff is happening, and a lot of stuff will happen. Pastor Barry, one more thing.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just wanted to mention, as you know, I do a little program on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific called Take 5, and I'm getting inundated with questions about the Ezekiel War. So tomorrow I'm going to do a program called the Ezekiel War, Who, Where, and When. So if you want to join in,
Perfect.
That'd be great. We'll talk about some of the specifics there. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you, everyone. God bless you, and shalom.